So the number 5 most viewed video on the Daily Wire channel is Leftist Woman Asks Shapiro if he's transphobic. Now we're skipping Feminist Melts Down over Elevator Joke because it's boring and not good content, and we're skipping Joe Rogan because it's an hour long and I don't really care for Joe Rogan. Let's go! Ah yes, this is another one of those he's in an auditorium videos. These are good.
So you've come out against the rioters in Charlottesville and all their violence and bigotry.
Yep.
The leaders of the Charlottesville rally were empowered by the rhetoric and agenda of Donald Trump and a lot of his associates as they've come out in the Vice documentary and claim.
Okay, yes, this is all true. You're front-loading way too much onto this in a conversation with Ben Shapiro. You're giving way too much for him to nitpick and dismantle. You need to be a lot more concise with it.
You've not only said controversial things, but you've had a couple of attacks against the trans community, transphobic attacks, even your call for the transfer of Palestinians, which I don't know if you've redacted that.
Yeah. Okay, you too much. It's too much. Now Ben Shapiro can look at this and he can attack Charlottesville. He can attack Donald Trump, Donald Trump's associates. He can attack the trans issues. He can now attack Palestine. He can now attack the fact that this person seemingly has done research on him to throw out a bunch of stuff at him. You're giving him too wide of a window. I'm sorry. It's too much for him to bite down on.
Yeah, I redacted that like 8-9 years ago.
I wanted to make sure. I wanted to ask you. No, I'm just learning about Ben.
No, really, that's fine. That's fine.
But even with that, do you feel that
already,
your speech could incite the same kind of violence?
I mean, you heard my speech tonight. Do you feel that my speech could incite violence?
Well,
convenient that it's not here in the video. What was that smile? What the fuck was that? I got Norman Bates vibes from that.
I mean that seriously. That's an honest question.
I know you're asking honestly. I feel that for me as an individual, it isn't. But I could see how a lot of your points.
See how she's picking at her shirt? Nervous tick. Not to armchair psychologize this, but I recognize that among a lot of people who don't have experience with public speaking.
I really disagreed with. I literally have a list of
and that's fine. I mean, that's the good part, right? Where we disagree and we can have a conversation.
I just was wondering in terms of and what I mean by inciting violence is encouraging the same people who believe in like your transphobic beliefs, even that like homophobia is a sin based on your religious beliefs. Do you believe that? Because of
too much. It's too much to bite down on. You're giving him too many opportunities. Okay, I know that this person is coming at this in good faith, but you can't do that with Ben Shapiro. You got to be aggressive and concise. He won't ever be in the same room as me, but
you say you can encourage a lot of people to act on those beliefs.
So I have a very strong standard with regard to incitement, and I'm very consistent about this. So I'm not telling somebody to commit violence. I am not inciting them to violence. I've held the standard for Barack Obama when he was saying anti-police things, and then somebody went and shot up some police officers in Dallas. I said that's not Barack Obama's fault. When a Bernie Sanders supporter went and shot up a congressional baseball game, I said that's not Bernie Sanders.
See, he's doing it. Yep. Poisoning the well is the name of this fallacy. You're giving him too much to chomp down on. He's doing it.
His fault because Bernie Sanders wasn't calling for that. Political debate requires that you talk to people and people take your words as what they mean, not as an excuse to go and do violence.
Political debate means you'll talk to people? Okay, then why don't you answer my emails, Ben? Why don't you respond to me? I'm waiting. celiacattackzach@gmail.com. I'll debate anybody. Can you say the same?
I've never called for violence, nor would I.
It doesn't really matter if you say, hey, go over there and do something about that guy. Go over there and take him out. You don't really need to say that to incite violence against someone or something. You just need to just lead them up to the doorstep and then let them take the last few steps. That's all you need to do. Violence is wrong. I would never encourage violence. Although Nancy Pelosi is destroying this country, she is a traitor to this country. The punishment for treason is death. Here's a gun. You should load up on all the ammunition. Let's go over to the Capitol and let's stand there with all of our guns. I'm not saying go do violence, but I'm leading you 99% of the way there. Now, I know he would strongly object to that. But
as far as the idea that my words are some sort of attack, a violent attack, for example, on folks who are transgender, my view, I know, but I'm responding to the people who are not you who might say that.
Well, no, like I said, your stuff is not necessarily a violent attack, but close enough that the people who would are going to be inspired by it. It's close enough that the people who think, trans people are a little weird, I don't get it. What's up with that? And then they find Ben Shapiro on the internet when they Google him, And Ben Shapiro gives all these crazy justifications. Oh, you're still biologically male. I'm not gonna treat you however this way. And these people think, hey, that makes sense. I'm not gonna treat trans people with respect either. And then one thing leads to another. And then people die. That's how it works. It's not that Ben Shapiro says you should go out and commit a hate crime. He's not responsible with what he says. He's not responsible with his platform and his ideology. And I think on some level he knows this.
The idea that I am transphobic, for example. This is a bizarre kind of attack in the sense that I don't know that I've ever exhibited phobia of trans people.
Oh,
I'm not
God.
afraid of trans people.
Did he just say that? He did not just say that.
I don't know that I've ever exhibited phobia of trans people.
I mean, I'd say like yes on every single conceivable level, yes.
I'm not afraid of trans people.
But you're not afraid of trans? You fucking sophist. Oh my God. I'm not afraid of trans people. Oh yeah? I'm not afraid of black people. I've just lynched 30 of them.
Well, transphobia is more along the lines of prejudice against the trans.
So I actually think that your first characterization was right. I think that transphobia is really disagreement with the basic principle that the trans community is trying to purvey, which is that people's sex is malleable.
No. Nope. That's not any of the arguments that are given. He just has to reach it and come up with it on his own because that's something he can argue against. That's not the primary thing the transgender community wants to purvey. They want to purvey that they are human beings and that their experiences are valid. They deserve rights like everybody else. Sex is malleable is not part of it. Doesn't even factor into the equation, actually. Ben Shapiro knows this. He's not willing to engage with the truth that sex and gender are different because that's not an argument he can win. So he has to say, no, they say that sex is malleable, because this is an easier strawman for him to attack.
That people can move from male to female, and that it is my job, objectively, to now call them the name they wish to be called.
I mean, it kind of is your job to call people the name they want to be called. If it's like their legal name, and they're like, hey, yo, this is my name, they're not going to be like, it's not what your birth certificate says! It's not how it goes. Going for the villain role. Yeah. Literal cartoon villain.
People can move from male to female, and that it is my job, objectively, to now call them the name they wish to be called, and to teach my children that men can be women and women can be men.
Men can be women and women can be men. Again, Louis Farrakhan argument. Ben Shapiro, the Louis Farrakhan of the Jews. He jumped from male and female to men can be women and women can be men. See the leap? It's a different argument you're making there, Ben. He does see it. He's just paid to ignore it. Yeah, that's part of it, too.
Now, with that said, is everybody in the United States entitled to the same rights? Of course, but your right does not extend to forcing me to call you what you want me to call you. That's not the way this works.
Well, that's not even part. Nobody's asking you to do anything. I'm willing to bet you, like, the vast majority of trans people don't want to be friends with you, Ben. They don't even want to be in the same room with you. You don't have to worry about that one.
That violates my freedom of speech. So, in interpersonal relationships, if I were out to dinner with a trans person, would I make a point of noting their proper biological sex? No, because that would be impolite. When I'm talking about the general principle...
I mean, he had no problem doing it to that one lady.
So, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated on genetics.
Would you actually like to discuss the genetics or no?
Well, no,
what
no.
are your genetics, sir?
Zoe, I'd stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
No, I know. Well, but wait. To be fair, you're actually being kind of rude. And that's not fair.
I'm sorry, it's not rude to say that someone who's biologically a male is a male.
You just
someone who's biologically male is a male.
But Mr. Shapiro, you knew very well that saying that to Zoe would be egregiously insulting.
Is a man a woman, or is a woman a man? The answer is I will say that a man is a man and a woman is a woman and a he is a he and a she is a she. And if I'm in a public debate with somebody, I will say the same thing.
People are clapping for that? What cucks?
So I do want to clarify that when I meant I wasn't trying to say disagreement. I was relating it to the same definition of homophobia, which is prejudice, or I tried to say discrimination.
Right. So I think that again, homophobia. There are some people who actively want to do violence.
Yeah, he's talking over her now. Yep.
Gay, right. I mean, those people are not me or anybody that I agree with. Obviously, I've never at any point in my entire career ever advocated violence. God forbid. Against anybody in a civilized society. That's not something that I believe in.
Jews like to build stuff. Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage. Ben Shapiro said that.
As far as, I think, again, your original definition of transphobia actually is better applied here as well. I think it's disagreement with certain principles that the homosexual community wishes to espouse.
What I was saying was that's not what I was.
I know, and I'm saying that I agree with your original definition and not your definition.
Oh, wow. He's so rigid in saying that sex and gender are the same, but now here he is arguing about the definition of transphobia, trying to redefine it in his own way.
I'm not saying it's mine. It's one that I that I found.
Right. So, and I think that definition is wrong, and I think that the one that you Freudian slipped was right, is what I'm saying.
So I'm saying based on like the institution
makes
of,
no sense.
I don't want to say the institution of Google because that's an extremely general thing to say, but in terms of as soon as you search transphobia, homophobia, this is what comes up.
Right, and I think,
do you feel like even though you're disagreeing with transphobia, with the trans community, which I believe we all have our own disagreements, I'm asking, do you feel that the fact that with your disagreement, you're inherently through...
You have a lot of bravery for coming up here in the middle of all these people and Ben Shapiro and his entire audience, but it's too much. You can't give too much. You're giving him too much to work with.
The institutions that have provided these definitions discriminating against trans community.
And I'm
encouraging other people to follow.
So
I know
here's
it's a long question, but I had to encapsulate a lot of things.
So here's what I'm saying. I disagree with either their definition is wrong or it's overly broad in its application.
Okay.
So if the idea is that if I say a man is a man and a woman is a woman is inherently transphobic, that's not discrimination, that's disagreement.
Saying that is not transphobic. It's the way you apply it that is. So a man is a man and a woman is a woman. I agree with that, actually. But the way I interpret that is not the way Ben Shapiro interprets that. When he says a man is a man and a woman is a woman, he means that you're born in one specific sex and you can't ever change that. It's connected to your gender and none of this will ever change and you're stuck in this rigid role for the rest of your life. I say, what makes someone a man and what makes someone a woman is not based on your sex, because this is a gender thing. But the way you're applying it is almost always in defense of treating trans people like shit. Let's be real. That's what it always comes down to with Benny Boy here.
Discrimination, they're overly applying their own
I
label.
think when you say like they're mentally ill, like that gives off...
Yes.
I have said, and I will continue to maintain, that gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder, whichever DSM you choose to use, is a mental illness.
Okay, you know what? He's correct, I believe. However, you could be trans without having gender identity disorder. You could be trans without having gender dysphoria. What do you think of that, Ben? What do you think of that? Oh, what do you think of that? He can't argue against that. He doesn't want to bring that up. That really ruins his argument. What a psycho-looking face. See, the other person's like kind of nervous and scared, but if I was sitting here, I would bring that up. I'd be like, hey, yo, you don't need to be these things to be trans. Oh, I would love to see his response. I imagine he'd hate it.
That is...
And why the fuck are they clapping for that?
God forbid that it should be said with any animus, because this is not said with animus. When people are suffering, these are clearly folks who are suffering. When people are suffering, you shouldn't be saying stuff with animus. I'm not saying that as a gotcha to people who are transgender.
You do, though.
The point that I'm making is that when a society begins treating folks who have mental illness as though they are representing an objective reality, they are doing no service to the people who actually suffer from a mental illness.
What point does he think he's making here?
My grandfather suffered from schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia.
Oh, there we go.
He was institutionalized. If the doctors had said to him, Nate, you're fine, we believe that the radio is actually talking to you, that is not a service to him, that would have been terrible for him. Right? They put him in an institution, they gave him lithium, and it helped. Now, I'm not saying there's even a great solution.
It's not really comparable to this. Comparing trans people to schizophrenia. All right, Doug. Where do I begin with this one, actually? But with your schizophrenic grandfather, you don't sit there and say, you are living a delusion like Ben Shapiro does. That's the wrong way to help these people get treatment. You don't fucking do that. Like you said, Ben, you give them the lithium, you give them what they need, and you treat them like a regular human being.
Saying there's even a great solution for folks who have gender identity disorder.
Great solution? What the fuck? And I wonder why people call him a Nazi.
The solutions that I've seen, including transgender surgery, are not intensely effective from all...
Who the fuck? No one's talking about transgender surgery. What?
Seen, including transgender surgery, are not intensely effective from all the studies that I've seen. It's a tragic, tragic situation.
Oh, Oh, are you ready to see some receipts? All right, hang on to your butts. You're gonna love this one. From Cornell University. What does the scholarly research say about the effect of gender transition on transgender well-being? Overview. We conducted a systemic literature review of all peer-reviewed articles published in English between 1991 and June 2017 that assesses the effects of gender transition on transgender well-being. We identified 55 studies that consist of primary research on this topic, of which 93%, found that gender transition improves the overall well-being of transgender people, while 7% report mixed or null findings. We found no studies concluding that gender transition causes overall harm. As an added resource, we separately include 17 additional studies that consist of literature reviews and practitioner guidelines. Bottom line, the search found a robust international consensus in the peer-reviewed literature that gender transition, including medical treatments such as hormone therapy and surgeries, improves the overall well-being of transgender individuals. The literature also indicates that greater variability of medical and social support for gender transition contributes to a better quality of life for those who identify as transgender. You love to see it. Research findings. 1. The scholarly literature makes clear that gender transition is effective in treating gender dysphoria and can significantly improve the well-being of transgender individuals. 2. Among the positive outcomes of gender transition and related medical treatments for transgender individuals are improved quality of life, greater relationship satisfaction, higher self-esteem and confidence, and reductions in anxiety, depression, suicidality, and substance abuse. 3. The positive impact of gender transition on the transgender well-being has grown considerably in recent years, as both surgical techniques and social support have improved. 4. Regrets following gender transition are extremely rare and have become even rarer as both surgical techniques and social support have improved. Pooling data from numerous studies demonstrates a regret rate ranging from 0.3% to 3.8%. Regrets are most likely to result from a lack of social support after transition or poor surgical outcomes using older techniques. 5. Factors that are predictive of success in the treatment of gender dysphoria include adequate preparation and mental health support prior to treatment, proper follow-up care from knowledgeable partners, consistent family and social support, and high-quality surgical outcomes when surgery is involved. 6. Transgender individuals, particularly those who cannot access treatment for gender dysphoria or who encounter unsupportive social environments, are more likely than the general population to experience health challenges such as depression, anxiety, suicidality, and minority stress. While gender transition can mitigate these challenges, the health and well-being of transgender people can be harmed by stigmatizing and discriminatory treatment. 7. An inherent limitation in the field of transgender health research is that it is difficult to conduct prospective studies or randomized control trials of treatments for gender dysphoria because of the individualized nature of treatment, the varying and unequal circumstances of population members, the small size of the known transgender population, and the ethical issues involved in withholding an effective treatment from those who need it. 8. Transgender outcomes research is still evolving and has been limited by the historical stigma against conducting research in this field. More research is needed to adequately characterize and address the needs of the transgender population. Boom. How's that for receipts? So, if Ben or someone else has got some evidence that contradicts what any of this and supports what he just claimed, by all means send it my way. Guess what? You don't fucking have it. And here we are, scrolling through. Big list. Each one of these red tabs is a study. We got a good amount of them here. These 4 are mixed or null findings, and then 17 literature and guidelines. All right. We fucking got them, everyone. You see, actually bringing up the data is a little different than saying you have data. Actually pulling up and bringing the data takes a bit more work than Ben Shapiro is willing to engage with. It's a little weird and creepy how obsessed he is with issues and groups that he has no association with as a straight white male. Yeah. I feel like the majority of people have like a indifferent opinion to trans rights. And like the people on the extremes who actually care one way or the other are people like Ben, where it's like, it's really weird that he cares. And people like me who actually know trans people in real life and like some of my best friends, and I care about them and I see what they have to put up with.
But the solution is not to redefine as a society what sex means along anti-biological lines. As far as
no, as we said, the solution is having support for them, which you're not willing to give in any capacity.
It's my own religious belief about the sinful nature of particular people's behavior should have no impact on how you act in a free country or how you think. It's a free country. Do what the hell you want.
You have millions of subscribers, so it does have an impact, a pretty big impact. Daily Wire has 2.47 million. That's a lot of subscribers. How many of them are going to hear what you have to say and take it to a negative place, or an even further negative place?
There's religious Ben, which is what I think is sinful, which is Jews who violate Sabbath.
I'm sorry. I don't want to make fun of his religion or too much, but like, this is really strange hearing like a Jewish man talk to me about sin. All the Jewish people I've ever known, in my family and outside, this is not a thing with them. I've only ever heard this from Ben Shapiro. That is strange to me. I don't know. Maybe it's like an orthodoxy thing, but I don't understand this. This is strange. It's always been, I've only ever heard this from Christians. I don't know. It's just really weird to me.
Right? Jews who eat shellfish. Right? There's a lot of things that we think are sinful in Judaism. Right? And then there's this
Yeah, and all of it's bullshit. I'm sorry.
stuff where do what you want because it's a free country. I think people do a lot of sinful stuff all the time, and I'm not calling them on it. Right? I think the people who are living together outside of marriage are sinning according to my traditional religious beliefs. It's a free country. Do what you want. So when people say homophobia, I think what they are doing is saying you disagree with me. I've never called for violence, and not only that, I'm in favor of legalization of same-sex marriage in the sense I want the government completely out of marriage, right? I don't want the government in the marriage business at all. So...
Nah, but you're willing to tell Dave Rubin to his face, I'm not going to your wedding, homo.
So I think that what bothers me is when folks assume that a disagreement means that they can ascribe animus, anger.
Disagreement is like, should we raise the city's sales tax 2% so we can pay for these new social programs? Should we raise it 0.5%, 0.5 cents so we can pay for a new homeless shelter? Where are we gonna put the homeless shelter? Should we build a new school? When I think of like easy political disagreements, that's what I think about. Like stuff like that that's like, yeah, this probably should get discussed, kicked around a bit. Ben Shapiro sees it as like, you're a degenerate and sinful, and he doesn't say you're going to hell, but he brushes up right against it.
Push for violence, to me.
Which is what a lot of the Charlottesville rioters were doing.
Well, the Charlottesville rioters were garbage people. I mean, I did 2 full episodes on how
I know.
garbage the Charlottesville rioters
I mean,
were.
this has been really great, actually, to have this dialogue, but I think
I was the #1 target of the alt-right in 2016, according to the Anti-Defamation League.
Okay, that claim was true. He was the #1 target from the alt-right in 2016. A while ago, I would add. And this was 2018? Yeah, so he's still right in that. So I don't ever want to hear Ben Shapiro complain about the victimization and people claiming they're victims ever again after that comment. I'm going to bring that up the next time he does it, okay?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be sassy, but what I really wanted to understand was, because you have such a large platform, I mean, even through Twitter, through social media, through your website, through your, just all your work.
Sorry. I know this person's doing their best, but oh my God, what I would give to be in this person's spot right now. Oh, they will never let me in the building.
I don't know of any particular cases where someone has said, Ben Shapiro told me to literally go murder a trans person.
No, it doesn't work like that, but rather people who are politically radicalized who do go and murder people like that, and there's been a few, they say things like, oh yeah, I really love Ben Shapiro. Oh yeah, lads, subscribe to PewDiePie. You didn't tell him to do this, but hey, kind of weird, you got a bunch of these people in your audience. It's true, if you get large enough, it could happen to anyone. It's just kind of weird that's like, you talk about Muslims, you talk about trans people in negative ways, and then someone in your audience goes and does something about it. Kind of weird.
If they did, they would be lying.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to like ask you about...
Right, and if they did, they would be lying, and I would think that, and again, anybody who commits acts of violence or evil in my name is a violent, evil person.
Well, anyone, Ben? What if you're in a bar fight and like your friend's with you and they punch the other person for you? Okay, that's silly. I know that's not what he meant.
And I hold that standard for everyone. But I really appreciate you coming out. It really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Horrible. Leftist woman asked Shapiro if he's transphobic. Garbage. Okay. Well, they were respectful. Yeah. She was so respectful. Yeah, but ugh. She's not a leftist. It's a huge mischaracterization. Yeah, she didn't really say anything that was pretty leftist. For all we know, they could have been a conservative. Whatever. We got through the video. That's what's important. Ben Shapiro, more like Ben Shapiro. In the past tense, he was Ben. Now he's dead because we just destroyed his stupid face. I'm going to give a thanks to the January patron backers. Dios, Elsie Hupp, George, Jari Pulamo, Laura Day, Megan Squires, Mellow Cheddar, Schwartz, and Xylorp on Bandcamp. Thank you all for your support. Maybe now I can go buy a razor and shave this off my face. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go do that.